banner behind you, it says Scottish Jews for a Just Peace. A reminder that this has got nothing to do with religion. And Maurice Naftalan is going to say a few words on behalf of Scottish Jews for a Just Peace.
Scottish Jews for a Just Peace have issued a statement today. We condemned the attack on the Gaza flotilla. We think that the violence that the Israeli state has used against the flotilla is just a consequence of the violence of the occupation, which for 40 years has kept the Palestinians under military government and unable to represent themselves and unable to claim their human rights. A situation like that is bound to lead to violence, which will increase and will continue to increase until we get a solution. We believe in SJJP, we believe that it's important for Jews to be seen to speak out against this situation. And we know as well that in the Jewish community as a whole, there's a good deal of disquiet, and more than disquiet, about the behaviour of the Israeli state. You don't want to necessarily take the official leadership of the Jewish community as being representative of everybody in it. What we need to do is build a campaign that calls in a principled way for human rights for the Palestinians, and as Kevin says, it's not an issue of religion, it's an issue of politics, it's an issue of human rights. And we need to say that clearly and continually, and eventually the situation will change. It'll change in the Jewish community, and it will change in Israel as well, where oppositionists, principled people who oppose the behaviour of their government, are also growing in strength. There will be peace, there will be justice for the Palestinian people. What we have to do is work to build that. We have to put pressure on our representatives, the British government and the EU, who are providing diplomatic and economic cover for Israel's actions. If we continue to build a movement that resists that, in the end there will be peace and there will be justice for the Palestinians.
Anne Henderson, who is the Assistant Secretary of the STUC.
Right, I'd like to just bring support from the Scottish TUC. All the affiliated trade unions across Scotland last year, we took a decision at our annual Congress to support a boycott campaign, which is tremendously important, as other speakers have mentioned. Earlier this year, we had a speaker from the United Nations, the Council, working with women in Gaza, and we're looking, as trade union women, at linking up with the women and their families in Gaza and the link that Hadil make to support the sale of goods in this country. They're small acts that make an enormous difference to the lives of women and their children in Gaza. And what's happened today, as people have said, we just have to hold on to finding a way of giving people hope and understanding that right across the world, trade union movement, communities across the world are watching what's happening in Gaza, watched what happened to those ships this morning and are absolutely appalled. So do everything that you can. Talk to people. Tell them what was on those ships. The women that we spoke to earlier in the year, they're describing that they can't get sanitary protection, they can't get nappies, they can't get things that their children need. They can't get thread to make the goods and repair the clothes that they need to wear and that they're providing for their families. That's what the blockade is stopping getting in. And that's what was on those ships. And that is not a crime. That's about supporting and understanding and living with people and trying to support them in creating a life for themselves in horrendously difficult conditions.
Just behind me is Carl Abernethy. Carl's been campaigning for Palestine for many years, and he's been involved in coordinating the Free Gaza movement. He's a close friend of Theresa McDermott, and hopefully, I don't know, we can find out in a second, hopefully he's got some news of how Theresa and the other 700 international human rights activists are getting on. Carl Abernethy.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you all for coming this evening to show your support for the Palestinian people and your outrage at the behaviour of the naval forces and armed forces this morning. I'm afraid I don't have any up-to-date information on the whereabouts or the welfare of my friend and colleague Theresa McDermott. What I do know, though, as the rest of us know, is that she was involved in a peaceful humanitarian mission to take aid to the stricken people of Gaza. It was an entirely peaceful mission, and other things that we know, again, the Israelis have shown their complete and utter contempt for international law and common decency. Another thing that we know is that they have murdered, brutally murdered, a number of people this morning. Now, despite what Mr. Regev and Mr. Avalon said this morning, I don't believe for a minute there was any provocation whatsoever, and certainly the live footage that was coming through my internet system this morning at 4 a.m. does not support what they were saying. It was an entirely unprovoked, brutal assault, completely in line with much of the behaviour that we have witnessed and are aware of for the last 60 years by the Israeli government, which is racist, brutal, and operates an apartheid system. Another thing that we know is that every single day in Palestine and in Gaza, they're doing the same thing to the Palestinian people and the people of Gaza. And another known fact is that our government sits on its hands. Our previous government of Blair and Brown did nothing and said nothing, and I don't know why that is. Today, I understand that our brand new Foreign Secretary, Mr. Haig, made a statement saying that the deaths of the civilians on board the Turkish ship was deplorable. Well, yes, well said, but what about the rest? What about supporting the mission to take aid to the people of Gaza? What about standing up to the Israeli government? What about asking our special friends across the Atlantic to stop giving a blank check week in, week out to the Israeli government, which allows these kind of atrocities to happen?
What about sending an escort with the ships?
Yes, here.
Yeah. Now, people say, ask what we should do next. Now, we can lobby our government to do something different. We can continue and escalate our mission of boycott, disinvestment and sanctions. And I don't think that the people left floating on the boats in the Mediterranean are under any doubt as what they want to do next. But clearly they've been sent a message that if they make another attempt, they too will be murdered in cold blood, as the Palestinian people suffer every single day. I don't know what else we can do. Maybe we should march on the hotel along the road. Maybe that'll do some good.
So is there a consensus for taking to the streets, for showing our contempt for the Israeli war machine that killed 19 activists today, and God knows how many Palestinians over the last 62 years? Is there a consensus that we march to the Israeli-owned Caledonian Hotel?